Welcome to Warriors Charts. Our focus here is raising consciousness. Please subscribe. Feel free to comment. I hope you enjoy. Be blessed. Life and Teaching of the Masters of the Far East by Baird Spalding, Volume 2, Chapter 2. The next morning, after we had gathered for breakfast, we questioned our hostess and found it was not an uncommon occurrence for Jesus to come as he did. And she said he often came and joined the others in their healing work. After breakfast, we found that our hostess and two other ladies were to accompany us to the temple that day. As we left the house, two men joined the party. One told our hostess that there was a sick child in the village who was asking for her. We followed the men to the home of the child and found it very ill. Our hostess walked forward and held out her hands. The mother placed the child in her arms. Instantly the little one's face brightened. Then it snuggled up close for a moment and in a few minutes was sound asleep. Our hostess returned the child to the mother and we proceeded to the temple. On the way she remarked, "Oh, if these dear people would only see and do this work for themselves instead of depending upon us, it would be so much better for them. As it is, they let us entirely alone until some emergency arises, then they call for us, which is quite all right, except that it does not give them any self-reliance whatever. We would much prefer to see them self-reliant, but they are childlike in every way." Our chief asked if a desire could be fulfilled as soon as it was expressed. Our hostess answered that if the desire were put forth in true form, it would be fulfilled. She then went on to say that desire is but a form of prayer, that it was the true form of prayer which Jesus used, as his prayers were answered. That prayer which is always answered must be true prayer, therefore must be scientific, and if scientific, must be according to fixed law. Continuing, she said, "The law is, as you know, your prayer is granted, and what things you desire when you pray, you receive them, and you shall have them. If we know positively that whatever we have asked for is ours already, we may know that we are working in accordance with the law. If the desire is filled, then we may know that the law is fulfilled. If the desire is not filled, then we must know that we have asked amiss. We should know that the fault is with us and not with God. Then the instructions are, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. Now go deep, deep down within your own soul, not with forebodings, fear, and unbelief, but with a glad, free, thankful heart, knowing that that which you stand in need of is already yours. The secret lies in getting the atonement or at-one-ment, getting the consciousness of it and then holding firmly and never deviating, though all earth should oppose. Of myself I can do nothing, Jesus said. The Father that dwells in me, he does the work. Have faith in God, have faith and doubt not, have faith and fear not. Now remember, there is no limitation to God's power. All things are possible. Use positive words in making your request. There is naught but the perfect condition desired. Then plant in your soul the perfect seed idea, and that alone. Now ask to manifest health and not to be healed of disease, to express harmony and realize abundance, not to be delivered from inharmony, misery, and limitations. Throw these off as you would discard an old garment. They are old and only outgrown things. You can afford to discard them joyfully. Do not even turn to gaze upon them. They are no thing, nothing. Fill the seemingly blank spaces about you with the thought of God, infinite good. Then remember the word God is a seed. It must grow. Leave the how, when, and where to God. Your work is merely to say what you want and to give forth blessings, knowing that the moment you have asked, you have received. All the details of this bringing forth is the work of the Father. Remember, He does the work. Do faithfully your part. Leave and trust God's part to Him. Ask, affirm, look to God for what you want, then receive God's fulfillment. Keep the thought of God's abundance always in mind. If any other thought comes, place it with that of God's abundance and bless that abundance. Give thanks constantly. If need be, that the work is done. Do not go back again to the asking. Just bless and give thanks that the work is done, that God is working in you, that you are receiving that which you desire. For you desire only the good, that you may give out the good to all. Let this be in silence and in secret. Pray to your Father in secret, and your Father who sees the secret of your soul will reward you openly. When the demonstration is complete, you will look back upon the time faithfully given as one of your greatest treasures. You will have proved the law, and you will realize the power of your word spoken in faith and blessing. Remember that God has perfected His plan. He has poured out and is continuously pouring out lovingly and lavishly upon us all good and every good thing that we can desire. Again, He says, "Try me and see if I will not open the windows of heaven and pour out such a blessing there will not be room to receive it." With all my heart, in the heart of my being, Father, I am one with you, and I recognize you as being the Father of all. You are Spirit, omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient. You are wisdom, love, and truth, the power and substance and intelligence of which and through which all things are created. You are the life of my spirit, the substance of my soul, the intelligence of my thought. I am expressing you in my body and in my affairs. You are the beginning and the end, the very all of the good which I can express. The desire of my thought which is implanted in my soul is quickened by your life in my spirit. And in the fullness of time, through the law of faith, it is brought into visibility in my experience. I know that the good I desire already exists in spirit and in visible form, and but awaits the fulfillment of the law to be made visible, and I know that already I have. With all my soul, the words which I now speak outline to you, my Father, that which I desire, as a seed it is planted in my soil of my soul and moved upon by your quickening life in my spirit. It must come forth. I allow only you, Spirit, wisdom, love, and truth to move in my soul. I desire only that which is good for all, and I now ask you, Father, to bring it forth. Father, within me I ask to express love, wisdom, strength, and eternal youth. I ask to realize harmony, happiness, and abundant prosperity, that I may have the understanding direct from you of the method of bringing forth from the universal substance that which will satisfy every good desire. This is not for self, Father, but that I may have the understanding so that I may be of service to all your children. With all my mind, that which I desire is already in visible form. I form in mind only that which I desire. As a seed begins its growth underground in the quiet and in the dark, so does my desire now take form in the silent, invisible realm of my soul. I enter my closet and shut the door. Quietly and confidently, I now hold my desire in mind as already fulfilled. Father, I now await the perfect outpicturing of my desire. Father, within me, I thank you that now in the invisible, the fulfillment of my desire is always established, and I know that you have poured out lovingly and lavishly to all in abundance of your treasure, that you have filled every good desire of my life, that I may partake of your opulent supply, that I may realize my oneness with you, that all your children may realize the same, and that whatever I have I may pour out to help all your children. All that I have I give to you, Father. With all my strength, no act or thought of mine shall deny that I have already received in spirit the fulfillment of my desires, and it is now brought forth into perfect visibility. In spirit, in soul, in mind, in body, I am true to my desire. I have perceived my good in spirit. I have conceived it as a perfect idea in soul and have given true thought form to my desire. I now bring into visibility, or true manifestation, my perfect desire. I thank you, Father, that I now have love, wisdom, and understanding, life, health, strength, and eternal youth, harmony, happiness, and abundant prosperity, and the method of bringing forth from the universal substance that which will satisfy every good desire. Said I not unto you that, if you would believe, you should see the glory of God? Understand that, if it is not finished and your desire is not now visible, the fault is within yourselves and not with God. Do not go back again to the asking, but like Elijah, persist. Hold out the cup until it is filled. Pour out blessings and thanks that it is done now, though every mortal thought of error beset you. Go on, it is here now, and believe me, your faith is rewarded. Your faith becomes knowing. We will suppose it is ice you desire. Would you begin by speaking out the word ice all about you indiscriminately? If you did, you would scatter your forces in all directions and nothing would come to you. You should first form a mental picture of what you desire, hold it directly in thought just long enough to get the image. Then drop the image entirely and look directly into the universal God substance. Know that that substance is a part of God and therefore a part of you, and in that substance there is everything you need. That God is pressing that substance out to you just as fast as you can use it, and that you can never deplete the supply. Then know that everyone who has created that supply has brought forth from this substance, whether they have done it consciously or unconsciously. Now with your thought and vision fixed on the one central atom, God, hold that atom until you have imprinted your desire upon it. You will lower the vibration of that atom until it becomes ice. Then all the atoms surrounding that one will hasten to obey your desire. Their vibration will be lowered until they will adhere to the central particle, and in a moment you will have ice. You do not even need any water about you. You need only the ideal. The founding of America portrays the white race's homecoming, as that land is their former home and one of the places where the great early spiritual enlightenment was brought forth. Thus it is the land where the greatest spiritual awakening will take place. In a short time you will be far ahead of the whole world in physical and mechanical development. You go on and develop the physical and mechanical until it is perfected to such a degree that you will see there is but one more step to the spiritual. When that time comes, you will have the courage to take the step. There is a saying in your country that necessity is the mother of invention. Necessity placed you in a position where you were obliged to do that which seemed impossible. Your mode of accomplishment has made you a very material nation. With your mode of living, this has been necessary in order to survive. When you, as a nation, do touch the spiritual realm, the strides that you have made in the material will seem like child's play. With the strong physical bodies and quick perception you have developed, your race will become a light to all other nations, and you will look back and wonder, as you are now looking back and wondering, why your forefathers used the stagecoach and the tallow candle when steam and electricity were all around them, just as it is around you today. Had they abided by the law, they would have received and benefited as you have and will. You will find that the spiritual surrounds and is above the material. You will find that in the spiritual there is a higher law, and when you abide by that law, you receive the benefit. For the spiritual is just above and around the mechanical or material. You will find there is no more mystery in the spiritual than there is in the mechanical or material. The things that appear difficult to you now will be simple, and you will surmount them just as readily as you are now surmounting the mechanical and material. It is the continual striving that does the work. The great error which many people make is that they do not look upon lessons as a means of attaining a given end. They do not realize that when that end is attained and fully recognized, the lessons are to be discarded and the attainment is to be followed. Then, if they still wish to go on, they may pause for a moment and place what they have accomplished in their storehouse, sometimes called the subconscious. And after this step, the lessons leading to the further attainment which they seek may be taken up. But as soon as the goal is reached, they must again discard the lessons. In this way, they may go on, step by step, to the highest attainment. You will find that lessons are but steps in the stairway, and if you were to attempt to carry all the steps you have used to reach the top, the load would soon crush you. Besides, there would be no steps for your brother to use as he follows on. Leave the steps for him to use if he chooses. They have assisted you to reach the top. You do not need them any longer. You may pause a moment for breath or for a fresh inspiration to go on. The moment that inspiration has come, you can place your foot upon the next step and again place the attainment in the storehouse. Let go of all the lessons that brought you there, and there is nothing to encumber or hold you back. But if you look back to the lessons and do not hold your vision on the goal, you will, before you realize it, have fixed the lessons instead of the ideal the lessons would convey. This may cause you to waver and look back and say, did my ancestors accomplish in the way that I have accomplished? When I look far back, I can say they did, but when I look into the immediate future, I say they did not. For they accomplished by the sweat of their brow, while you are using your own God-given power. If you look back to your ancestors, you will, before you realize it, be worshiping them. For with your creative ability, you will have brought forth that which you have gazed upon. You will be living by their standards instead of your own. You will begin to look like your ancestors, but you will not accomplish what they have accomplished. You will begin to drop back, for if you live by another's ideal, you cannot accomplish that which the one who conceived the ideal accomplished. You must either go on or return. There are no halfway measures. This ancestor worship is one of the direct causes of nations degenerating. Because of your lack of ancestor worship, we see a great nation in store for you. You had, in the first place, very little pride of ancestry. You had no ancestors to worship, and you had no foundation save that which you made. Your ideal was a free country, and you brought forth your ideal. The country you acquired had been free from king or ruler. To you it did not matter how your grandfather had accomplished. It was how you, your own individual self, would accomplish. Then you united with the many to accomplish one purpose, and the individual self in you, the creative power that gives you life, God, held you in direct communion with your ideal power to create. Then, with your eyes steadfastly fixed on the attainment, you are going on to the realization of your ideal. Our hostess turned to the tablet and resumed. On these tablets, it is recorded that God was called directive principle, head, mind, and was symbolized by the character which is like your letter M, which was called M-O-O-H, or Mu. This translated into your language would be director or builder. This directive principle was over all and controlled all. The first being he created was called the expression of the directive principle, and he was created in form just like the principle, as the principle had no form but his own to express by or through. This being, which the directive principle created, was the outer expression of the principle himself. He was created in the image of the principle, as the directive principle had no other form to pattern after. The directive principle gave to his creation every one of his attributes, and this creation had access to everything that the principle had. He was given dominion over every outer form. He had the form of his creator, the attributes of his creator, and the power to express all of them in the perfect way that the creator expresses, so long as the creation held itself in direct accord with the principle. None of the attributes of the created being were developed, but the creator, having in mind the ideal or perfect plan which his creation was to express, placed his creation in ideal or perfect surroundings where all the conditions for its perfect development were complete. When these conditions were complete, this being was placed among them and named Lord God, and the location where he was placed was called Mu or M, and afterward became known as the cradle or mother. I wish you to observe that I am putting this into words in your language so that you can understand them. You can go into the details later after you have learned to translate the tablets yourselves. I wish to bring these points out so that they may become the principle from which we shall work in translating these records. I do not wish you to think that I am attempting to change any conclusions you have already formed in other ways or through other thoughts or studies. I am going to ask you to lay them all aside for the time. When you have gone deeper into these studies, you are at liberty to take up all others again if you wish. I do not wish to influence you in any way. All lessons are but the outer, a way of arriving at a conclusion. If the conclusion is not reached or the aim sought is not attained, the lessons become driftwood, extra baggage, nothing. End of chapter 2.